everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are here taking a look at aespa's Whiplash. We have a music video, a dance practice, as well as a behind the scenes to take a look at. This is also a Patreon request. Shout out to Jay for the request. I'm very excited to look at this because this is their newest comeback and I am very intrigued on what their choreography is going to entail. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
One look, give 'em whiplash. Beat drop with a big flash. 집중해 좀 더 think fast. 이혼 언니의 못해. 보이지 않아 what did that. Day one, no I've been bad. Don't stop 흔들린 채. 무리해도 can't touch that. Under pressure, body's sweating. Can you focus? 어디서 날 거쳐놔서 I'm the coldest. 오직 나만의 입안을 바꿔줄래. Just close your eyes, baby. One look, give 'em whiplash. Beat drop with a big flash. 집중해 좀 더 think fast. 이혼 언니의 못해. 보이지 않아 what did that. Day one, no I've been bad. Don't stop 흔들린 채. 무리해도 can't touch that. Whiplash. Whiplash. Whiplash.
와, sheesh. She said, let me take that. Thank you. Very combative.
One look, give it whiplash. Beat drop with a big flash. 집중해 and think fast. 이혼 못해. 보이지 않아 what did that. Day one, no I've been bad. Don't stop 흔들린 채. 무리해도 can't touch that. I'm the highlight. It's your memory. It's a night about me. You know it's my side. 거친 내 side. 만들어낸 history. One look, give
You
it
see that reverb?
beat drop with a big
Come on now.
따라와 어서 move fast. 이혼 언니의 못해. 보이지 않아 what did that. Day one, no I've been bad.
So fun. There's so much expensive equipment, man.
다가와도 can't touch that. Whiplash. Whiplash.
Wow. I saw that. Wow.
One look, give 'em whiplash.
Yes, with a little lingering swing of the arms. Oh, I'm excited for this dance practice. Let's freaking go. Oh, come on now. Come on now.
One look, give 'em whiplash. Beat drop with a big flash. 집중해 좀 더 think fast. 이혼 언니의 못해.
Yep.
보이지 않아 what did that. Day one, no I've been
Love the
bad.
levels on
Don't
this.
stop 흔들린 채. 무리해도 can't touch that. Under pressure, body's sweating. Can you focus? 어디서 날 거쳐놔서 I'm the coldest. 오직 나만의 입안을 바꿔줄래.
Yes. Yes. Ah. It's so simple, but it matches so well. I see some very, very subtle Vogue elements in it, for sure. There you go, there's a little catwalk on that. Yep. Yes. Definitely some animated textures to help with this animatronic monotone bass kind of rhythm, right? Yes. Nice. Yes. Woo! Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can get with that. Let's go. I love that. Yes. Use your dancers for that. Let's go. Yes. Ooh, clean. I love that. Come on now. Gosh, that is really, really fun. We're here with that. I can get on board with that all freaking day long. Okay, let's talk. Overview, love it. Because you have a animated whiplash, a lot of manipulation of tone going on in the track. It's not auto-tune. I mean, it is auto-tune, but not like the T-Pain auto-tune that we're used to hearing. But it's very manipulative where it feels very da-da-da, robotic, where like intercom robotic, alert vibe. It feels very like that sci-fi-ish. And then the dancers did a fantastic job on creating more layers, creating really dope spacing and transition elements, and the levels were really nice. So it really helped me appreciate the members by what the dancers did. So I'm really excited to talk about this heavy hybrid with Vogue elements. Do they do like enough to give it like the style Vogue? There was enough to see, I see inspiration choreographically for sure. But here we go, from the jump, from the top. I already like it out the gate, having everybody's feet glued together. I mean, some have it a little spaced out, but we pick our battles, it's fine. Glue our feet together, facing back, everyone's propped up nice and tall. Then you have your members each inverting to the respective inside with their shoulders low-key, almost touching but not quite. I like the setup on that. It's fun. And then a little head nod, and then the dancers all drop down, going into more of a knee split situation. Then they fold down their forearms in order to allow the arch to still be supported, but help with a low range, like getting the range around, but staying low to the ground. Really cool. Then you have your members go, they do a little trace, and then you have a snake of speed change happening through there. So you have multiple levels going on, and then you have your dancers do a little sweep around with their hand properly placed. Now, hand placement is a really big thing. This hand placement and this hand placement look different whenever you have it on the hip. It also makes your arch look different too. So everybody has their hand fingers down in comparison to the Barbie hand that we're used to seeing sometimes. I really like that choice. And even if you notice between our two members of aespa, one of them has it on the inside of the thigh and the other has it placed over the quad, that does subtly adjust or change how this arm is going to look, because it's going to be a rotation thing. So if I have my fingers facing towards my knee, my rotation is not going to be as aggressive or requiring as much flexibility to get that arm straight, like if I'm rotating it to the inside of the thigh. So it's little details like that. That's such a, like, that's not even a note, that's just an observation, which I find interesting. So they all slowly come up. I like the arms there. We have that which our member, she just has a little head nod there. It's just give them whiplash. I like the pulse of the track and that we're choosing to pulse using the chest. It's nice. And I like the little, it's definitely giving a like monkey see monkey do vibe. It's cute. And I like that we're opening the knees to lower, drop the level. Bless the dancers. That's gonna kill your quads faster than anything, kill your thighs, but that's life. But I like the toe moving too to create that pulse. And then she goes whip flash, and I like that the body roll. There's a lot of speed changes, and I love this rotation coming out of it. So notice that we have pulse, 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 then we create more of a different plane being integrated, and then you have your grouping here with your members and your other dancers framing it. So I like to go hit. Now these angles are pretty tricky to do cleanly in unison. And I think they do a pretty good job for the most part on him. But there was just a couple moments, like one of our dancers right over here, her angle was slightly off compared to the members. And because the members are a focal point, that would be just like a little thing that could be helpful and to be mindful of. But it's, once again, one take, fixed cam. I really pick my battles on here. I love the fact we get to appreciate it. I like the little snaking down. But do you see what I mean? Look at this alignment. It's literally talking about what I just talked about. You have a dancer with her hand facing down towards the ground and the other facing the inside. Look at the arm and how different it looks. And that is why, because of the rotation demand requested of your arm. I love that we get to talk about it so soon. But I like the trace down the side of the body, and then we end up switching, and I like the angles being set up, and I love the fact she didn't even look back. She just moved to the spot and they were there. I love that. The angle is clean too. Really fun. We have a subtle walk to the back, and she does a little pivot to turn. I like the angles going out and in, and I like how we have our elbow goes and it's touching right there towards the respective torso. It's really nice. And then we take it out, and I like the rotation going on. It's not just out in, and we end up rotating, so it creates a really fun direction and dynamic. And then they reset down, so I like our members hanging out in the back. What are they doing? I was focusing on the front. It was hard for me to see what's going on. So we have some dancers that are catering to what's going on with the lower level. Same arms, but different posture. And then we have our members hanging out over here. Really fun to see. And they'll pick up is nice, and she uses that to move to her next spot. It's the dancer's responsibility to keep her center. It's not her job, really. I mean, she does need to be mindful, but the dancers are behind her, so they can adjust when needed. She needs to know just when window she needs to finish at, which is just this one right here. They go pop, 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 and then they just rebound off of it. And then we have another member getting ready to go. Can't touch that. Really nice. Where they're literally touching, they're like, you can't touch that. And they reset over here, and I like the little flick of the hand to flick that hip. Come on now. And then we have our next feature. She's down. I like the little slide in with the shoulder accent, and I love the walk with this arch in the back and letting our walk lead and having this upper body kind of be left behind a little bit. Super fun. So we have everybody just reset over here on the stage right. They're setting up, not being a distraction, because our feature and focal point is on that stage left side. And then she goes, can you focus straight line? And I like the little, it's not a Harlem Shake, but it is a Harlem Shake sequence, but there's no groove in it. And I like the stoicness and the stiffness of it because it justifies the animated vibes of the track itself. So having groove in this would actually be a little strange because of the concept they're going for. It's very mannequin, very pose oriented. And when you think in contrast of whacking and Vogue, they're doing more Vogue-y elements here than whacking. They are different cultures and communities. Go be curious about this. Even though a lot of people like to integrate them together, they do come from different cultures, different parts of the country. You got that East Coast Vogue scene, and then you have the West Coast whacking scene, punking scene. And so here, a lot of these choices is very pose-oriented, and Vogue has more mannequin-esque posing as one of those key factors in how you can showcase the essence of it, which is really, really fascinating. I love being able to reference these things. I love that little dee-dee-dee. It's so subtle, but having three of them do it, really cool. Arms go up and down, and then she goes and presents it across. What does she do with her hand? I think it's this, right? Maybe? Oh, I can barely do that. That's fine. And now everybody bleeds over to the inside, and then they end up bringing it down. I like the levels. We have a direction happening. Feels very assembly line-esque. And then we have her little pick up on the leg, and then she's ready to go. Arms present in front. Then you have two dancers match her. Do-do-do. Syncopation of the chest to match what happened with subtlety of the head. I love that. So we have different percentages of energy being presented, and those types of things really can allow us to want to be sucked in. Because if I'm noticing that there's a lot of really loud movement, so a lot of this kind of stuff, but then I see a lot of subtlety, it makes me want to be on guard more, naturally wanting to be captivated by it, to really try to pick up on all these little baby Easter eggs of choreography overlap, which we could totally appreciate and love. So I love that we have different percentage of energy being shown on this, where you have your subtlety on the chest or the head, but then you have the fullness on range on different planes too. So I like that we take that arm and we go and we dip it back. Well, not really dip it back. I mean, because now I have to be mindful because there is a dip in Vogue, but it's not, no one is doing it. So we're going to say we're interlocking and we're just pressing the energy down on the hands to present a nice arch is what we're going to talk through on the stage right side. Really nice. And then I like how she goes and she grabs the dancer's hand, the opposition. I like that arch happening there. Dancers walk away. We have a nice little moment going on with our members. Really fun. They all go away, and I like the hands out, and then they fold down, which we're here for. And then we have our hands wrist rotation up, nice level being represented as they transition, and we bring it in, and then we bring those hands up on the, we're building to a place. Where are we building to? And then that goes into a overhead. So you've seen that a lot of times with whacking, but just know they are two different cultures. But you see them a lot of times intermingle, which is what you're seeing here. Whiplash, I like that. With whiplash, a lot it comes from your neck, and I literally just talked about with a P1 harmony track that I just looked at. Some of the ISOs that they choose to do with the head, the speed on it, you can potentially get whiplash on if you're like flinging your head and your body in your head's just not ready for that degree of aggressive ISO shifts and syncopation. So it's really funny that this track's entirety is whiplash. So of course, grabbing their neck, because that's where whiplash can originate from. I do think angles could be a smidgen better on this, especially if this is a focal point and you repeat it. I think getting this angle range right could really help make that look nice and crisp. I like the subtlety, and then they double it up. Other side, 1, 2, and then they double, and they do a little pulse, 2, 3, 4. I'm digging this. I'm excited to learn this, honestly, because it's simple, but I'm going to tell you it's the second half that's going to be wonkier than this first half. First half is more pulsing, more repetitive, or you bleed through for an entire phrase in comparison to syncopating it aggressively. Syncopating means deviating from that normal tempo or the normal pockets, right? So you're going outside of the pocket. It's really fun. And then they hit it. I like the switch there. And then they have the fist right there catered towards that hip, and I like go ta, and then they dip, like the little arch. No, sorry, not dip. They just bend the knees, sorry. So I like the arms with our dancers. They're letting the wrist lead that choice and having the hand kind of be that secondary move. I like that their arms are up and the members' arms are down, and the sways are really fun too. And notice it's a little bit more isolated. It's not a full sway with groundedness. It's very nice, and I like the figure 8 happening there. Look how clean that looks. Ooh, that's pretty. Snapshot, gorgeous. I like the little shimmy, little shoulder over. It's not a shimmy. Shimmy's this way. Just shoulder. Triple on that, and they bring it over, up, and then this is a little wrist rotation, and they go wrist in, subtle on the knee. They're catering their weight to the back leg in order for that knee to rotate nice and subtly without having extra weight on it, because there isn't weight on it. And then from there, when they do the switch up, that's where we have a baby rebounded weight take place. Looks nice. We have our arm placed here, but do you see what I mean? Look how crisp these angles are, but then we have this angle, it's a little bit out. It's just, it just feels, it does stick out like a sore thumb. So that's why I'm giving the note that I am, is these types of angles can really take away from that crazy clean line that a lot of our dancers are taking ownership of. So I appreciate that the dancers aren't deviating as much as the members. Members are allowed more freedom and grace in it, but just like in the very beginning, if we're going whiplash and we're showcasing uniformity, and based on if you're going more animated, we do think more replicated in comparison to individuality, because there's no groove, which is fine, but we are more sensitive to these types of discrepancies in that event, if that makes sense. So it's totally fine. It's just life. And then touch that. So I like the step out, and then we drag it in. Really fun on that. It just can't touch that. Okay, now. And they go, burn, burn. I love that. Dancers go high, low. And they goes whip, whiplash. The double up on that, oh, filthy. And it matches that whip, whiplash. Oh, so fun. And then you have the hair flip around, and then they all dip up, and they go back up, whoom, to match what ended up happening in the very beginning, where they take the arm front, and then they do the shoulder with a little arch coming back. All the dancers join, but they're just doing shoulders with no arm. I love it. It's so subtle, but you can really tell who your members are and who your dancers are just from the subtle deviation, which is why part of one of the reasons why it's so satisfying is because everybody's arch or everybody's lean is really clean, but also the members, look how much cleaner their arms are. That's why this section to me feels a lot cleaner and more full and complete in comparison to that very first course. I am looking forward to seeing the second course to see if I catch any of the things get fixed, or if that's just a chronic, that's just what it looks like. For now, it's totally fine. And they brush. I like the little pickup of the leg, and they represent those arms. I like the arm moment here with the hand, definitely gives that looking in the mirror vibe. And then we body roll, we double it up, and then we create a tension to finish it out through the sternum, and then we go a little doom doom. So it definitely feels like a, what is it, praying mantis, ta ta, a little stab stab. And then we have one arm, it's frozen, and then the other one goes high-low, and I like that choice. So this one needs to be nice and still in order for this one to be seen clearly, which is what we see there. And then they do a little flick with a little brush, and then you have your dancers go off the back of the hamstrings, back of the thighs, and they dip down. Sorry, not dip. Gosh, Jess. For this one, that's why I'm going to be sensitive to it. Normally, I'm fine with it, but they're hinging forward with that trace. And then you have your members go whip, whip, so they have a little extra pulse going on with the chest, like they have something in their ear. And then we trowel it up, lash. And then we party, and then I'm going to be honest, some of us were not very complete. I would say she wasn't super complete on whatever variation she was wanting to go on. That's whatever. It's just commit and make it clean. But yeah, if you look, she doesn't really actually finish any of her choices. If you look at, let's say, my dancer right here, fantastic example. But then if you watch what she does, it's not a complete phrase. It's not readable, and it's not really distinguishable as contributing to certain sounds as effectively, right? So let's actually go back. So let's look. Ready? So watch my dancer right here. That is a freaking dope air screw with a nice finish. So that to me is, I guess that's individuality, make your own choice. And then we were kind of hanging out right here. We weren't defined in our choice. So that's going to be my note I give to my girl right there. A little brush back, and then I like that little trace down. I love me a good walk on tempo. And then we do a little scuff of the foot in order to turn. Then we go, there's your catwalk, boom, and we double up the walk. And then we have just our arms is like we got purses in, but the type of walk is really nice. I like to use it to the upper body to make it nice and feminine. I mean, the style Vogue has a heavy feminine posture and presence in it. Totally fine. That's the whole point, right? So we're here and it goes boom, boom. I like how we're having it across, like we have something that's plugged in our ear that we're going to keep in. And then I like that we're manipulating whatever we are through weight shift and through our arm. It's really nice and clean. And it goes dun, dun, dun. You see what I mean? Da da ba da bum bum. There's like subtle deviations from that tempo, or not the tempo, but from the basic like 4/4, where it goes over, speed change, 1 2 doon doon. So in order for us to recognize that from that, everyone has to make it readable if they're all going to do it, and that's exactly what we see. Second verse is looking really nice so far. And then we have our arms. She takes them in, and then she resets them, makes the hands flat towards the chest. And then I like everyone looks over, nice presentation. She has her moment. She makes the head rotate around. I like that all of our members, they have this pull away, and then they reset nice and crisp. Really cool. And then we speed change out of it. And then we ball change to the back. Our dancers speed change to the other direction. I love that. And she says boom one side. She says a little peekaboo, the rotation. She says peekaboo other rotation. She does a little grab on the back on her back, and then we do a little shoulder accent, and we transition. And we go under pressure, da, da, da. It's cute. And then we have our dancers facing inside, framing very well. So go da 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 da, and we do a just an arm rotation to the inside, and we look down. Cast is really cool, and I like that the members join in on that. But the first one, they do picking up nice and clear and readable. Love that choice. And then they join in with dancers, but their bodies face our direction. The dancers face the inside. Now the dancers face back, they face front. I like that everybody's head is facing the same direction, even though aespa has their arm up to match it, and then they take the hand and they twinkle it in. And then we have these arms that matches what we ended up seeing in the chorus, but the chorus had one arm still, the other one stacked. This one is equal switch, which is nice. It's subtle, familiar, but different. I like the levels happening here. I like our V going on. Very nice. And I like the fact we can see, I think we can see all our members, maybe 1 2 3. We have 3. Where's our 4th? Right here? Yes, because she's matching the dancers. Okay, then you have your arms nice, 90-90. Really nice and clean. I like the chest. Presenting, I like the head on that. Now, if you don't have really good head ISOs, this move right here can manipulate and mess with what's going on right here. So I'm glad that we got to see that well enough. And then we have our dancers lean. They take their hands and they twinkle it in, but instead of it being here, I think it was the first one somewhere, and then they ended up doing it again. Really nice. And then we have a walk and walk and walk. And so our dancers accent and embellish up the top, different levels. So it's 1 2 and triple it. So I like the fact that we are not just going basic 3 4. At some point, by the third time we do something, we're deviating it, or we're making it different in some way, in either the timing, the dynamic of speed. Well, technically it's the timing thing, like the type of tension we're having, or the complexity. So I really, really like that. I vibe with that. It's really subtle, the frequency of it, but I appreciate it every time I see it. It's really nice. It goes, doo-doo. So I like that we have our dancers hinge forward with their arms to match our main feature right there in front. And I like our range going nice and high. So we have a member being represented by a dancer, which is really cool. So they hit it over and then they immediately do a flip over with the 90. Now the tricky part about that is getting the flexibility to get this angle and this angle. And they do a pretty good job of that, if I'm being real. Like hers looks pretty good. Hers looks pretty good. We're here for it. Oh, and it also looks like she's trying to fight for a 90 down, but I could be wrong. We're going to look though. Let's see. Oh no, we take it close. We're here and then we bring it down. That's cute. We're walking on tempo. Breathe in, a little overhead. Yep. Na na na. I love this here. Boom, switch. Now this, we got to be very mindful of our angles because if we overshoot it to the outside or inside, it's not going to be clean. We're already seeing a little deviation. Like we have it straight across, then we have both bent, and then we have one bent this way and this way. Do you see what I mean? Those are little things that you run the risk on in a one take like this, which is why I'm way more like absolutely okay that this stuff happens. I'm curious if that stuff just happens circumstantially or if that's just a habit of this is how I hold it. There's always, you never know with just a one take like this. I would have to literally be in the rehearsal space watching them do that section. I would take a note of it and I'd say, okay, can we do this section? Watch it again. Is that a pattern or is that a one-off is what I kind of determine in my cleaning practice when I look at groups in choreo. That would be something that I would touch on if I just had this as a run through. Very interesting. The switch of boom, 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 because notice where this is determines how this switches, right? And then we do a little bleed over, a little shampoo over, trace over, and then we take it kind of like tucking in the opposite pocket, and then we brush across and we place over the hip, and we go dip, 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 and then we go down, and then our hand is out, and then we do a nice little body roll to finish it. And then this was really nice. Their back row taking their right arm, front row is also their right arm, but different directions. I love the cleanliness. Guys, look how clean the line is. Really visually pleasing. We love it. They'll walk on tempo. Tension, tension with a body roll. We drag that leg in, and then they reset, click, click, and then they body roll. I love how anticlimactic this speed changes. It is so captivating. I love it because you wouldn't expect it. Because you hear this sound, you would expect somebody pulling some air screw, whacking overhead variations, right? But that's not what they do. They said, we're going to hold this for 3 to 5 business days. Okay then. And I like our dancers holding their legs in a bevel, having their arms presented forward. And so visually pleasing, the dancers having good spacing too. They roll it to the inside, twinkling, not twinkle, but just a subtle little finger rotation. And they reset, boom. And I like how they send it over and down, really nice. And then we walk, and then unforgettable. And then they keep going, gettable. So they do it for about 2 counts more than what we're used to hearing. Boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a canon if I ever saw one. Now, there's a difference between a ripple and a canon. A ripple is the same move traveling across whatever direction you want to go. Canon is a sequence of moves with different start and finish times, which is exactly what you see here. So if you go, the move sequence, doon, doon, we're pushing with our elbow, then we swing our arm over, and then we unswing the arm, and then we end up introducing a new swing. So technically the first group usually does all of it, and the rest of the group sometimes stops at a certain point if they're all going to stop at the same time, right? So they go swing, hit, so they go swing. Oh, they're all are able to do that part, and they just end up using that to help with their transition on tempo. That's a really, really dope sequence. And also, everyone has to be on the same page in order for that visual to come to life. So it starts by the diagonals. So it's that back diagonal, boom, second row, third row. So it's a 3, 3, 4. Come on now, ready? Watch, appreciate, and go. Boom, 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 boom. So they finish all of this before they move. And so that's why you saw that first group of 3 move when my second group was finishing the phrase. But it's very readable, that canon. And once that canon was done, we're able to walk to our next spot, fine and dandy, and it looks great. I love that section. And then from there, they all do boom, nice little hit. And then we take our arm whiplash. Now those arms look a lot nicer, don't they? Yeah, so I'm going to assume that first time was a potential fluke. First time, at least in the run through, it happens. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I experience this in my own work with my own students. Sometimes the first when they do 2 courses or they do the same choreography twice, the first course sometimes has some weird flukes in it, but the second time it's naturally cleaner. It's very interesting. Even though you may have the same degree of practice for both, the first time you see it done, it may not connect in some way. It's a very weird thing. I can't quite place it on the psychological side, but to me, it being more unclear that first time and cleaner the second time doesn't shock me at all, because I do experience that in the own practice space when you have repetitive choreography over courses. But I like the dancers having their head committed around. I like that they hop to face their respective corner. They're not facing true back. I think most are facing to the corner, which I like. But you do have one of them, it does look like she's going straight back. So that's, you know, I think that's interesting, but at least on the outskirts, they are cornered. And then you have one of our members going the opposite direction, so I'm naturally wanting to watch her. And I'm assuming that is who's featured, right? No, she's not. She's featured. And she's going the opposite way so we can see her. I get that. Both's fine. So they all drop low, except for them, except for the members. The members kind of add this little arch in the back and then do a little trace of the thigh, which is cute. And they rotate da-da-da-da. This is really nice. Instead of having dancers come on stage, I think, at this part or something along those lines, I like that we have our members with their hands planted out, and then our dancers, their hands are up. And I like the spacing because that helps get the visual nice, fine, and dandy. We have some that are like met, some quite aren't crossing, some are crossing. So that would be, of course, ideal scenario is having equal spacing to where everybody looks the exact same. That's like scary clean. I like the crossover here, and at least the mirror sides are pretty much the same, which is why the members look pretty good. But the dancers, that would be one of the things that you would want ideally. But remember, this isn't like a competition choreo where that kind of stuff matters as much. And I have it paused too, so we got to remember that too. Like, at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal. It's really fun to talk about though. The hips are nice on that, and everybody does it ding 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 ding. So we cross, uncross, and then we do shoulder 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 3 times, and then we dig, just our members take that shoulder and then they just swivel it to the front to allow that leg to come in. They're the only ones that I think do that too, I think, right? Let me look though. Oh, hold on. Dun, dun, bum, ba, da, da, da. Yeah, they're the only ones that do that, and I like this subtle separation. Then they join right back in. So they go, don't stop, da-da-da, rotate, yeah, da-da-dee, and it out. And I just really like that. I'm excited to learn that part. Da-da-dee, da-da-dee, all day. And they go switch, switch, and then they bring it right here. Yeah, so some of us, that's still off, so I would clean that. That'd be something I would touch on. Now here we got 3 groupings. A lot of times you see this as an X, but because of numbers and because we only have 4 members, having it with the back and the 2 looks totally fine. And then having your member featured in the center is very easy to see. I like that we have our arms. It looks, that's interesting. Hold on. Right, left, right, right. Interesting. So we have different arms. Cross, cross. No, those are all right. Right, that's fine. But we have one dancer who's using their left arm, and then everybody else is using the right. So that would be something normally you wouldn't need to clarify something like that whenever you branch it over, but it also can contribute to where you were in the formation before. See, now I'm curious. So touch that and we walk. Oh, so yeah, it shouldn't matter. That could just be a clarification thing. Like, I'm curious how the behind the scenes pulled up too. I think it's just one of the dancers, she just chose that. That's whatever, that's life. And I like they take it in and then they rotate it to the outside. That's why. Golly, I should have just kept it playing, right? It had to be every other. It has to be every other because they're going to take that arm and they bring it up and then reverse it. Okay. I will say this side over here was really hard to tell if it was somebody's right or left because of the hair. So we're gonna give Jess some grace there. But I like with our feature, she has her moment where she crosses and uncrosses, and it really matches the outskirt choreo very well. They all drop down, they rotate that arm around. I like the opposition. It naturally promotes depth to the formation. She takes it in, she goes around, everybody turns. And then we have it with both arms versus just one, which is really nice. Our dancers go down, they're on the ground. I like the little fan. I do always wish that we have straighter legs when we do choose to do that. We are going to go back and talk about what's happening in center, but we're going to look at the dancers first. And then they end up doing both legs, and then the second one they just do one, it looks like. And then they go have their knee as an anchor point, extend that leg closest to the members, and then they push away, and then they come right back up. Now let's go back and look at what the members are doing. So it goes da da da, little traces, and then she has this little body roll, and then she shampoos, and then we have 2 members join in. So they go da da, and they have this little trace that bleeds over, which is really fun. And then we have this moment with our arms, and then we plant our hands firmly on top of each other, which is really nice. And then she has this little bleed up. Come on now, all day, baby. And they rotate with a little extra press. It's super fun. And then we have this energy with the press up is also really nice, or just a switch up on the hands is super cool. And then she has this moment with a cross, which is really cool. And then she hits, boom, little reverb, all day, baby. That was so fast. Do, 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 do. And in the arm, do, 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 do. No time. Literally felt like no time, even with this. And then you have one of your members. She takes her arm. I like the connection as she brings it back. Really, really fun. And then I like the fact that we have this clean enough to where we have everybody shown. That is super fun. Come on now. We love that. Love that. Beat drop, and then I like that we have everybody go the opposite way with the snake, and she traces it up across her head, across her face. Goodness gracious. Then we end up going the opposite way again. Then we do a little body roll, staying where we are, body roll it, and then we look, and then she goes motte, cool, and then they walk, and then we have a little boom, little knock with the finger, and she goes back and back in. I think that's super cute. And then we use that arm back front, and then we use it to to rotate to the other direction. And it goes out in, very pulse oriented with the leg. This is what makes that its own moment. So it's just a tap with the leg, lifting the heel. It's that front foot that we're seeing. And then we're taking the fingers. I like the pointedness of them. Really fun. And they're using just the foot with the fingers. And then we have our arm across, and we go click, click. Weight most likely catered to that back leg in order to make the quickness of that accent with the knee work the way that it does. We have our dancers, nice not hinge, but subtlety in their hit. They go pop, pop, which is cute, and then they bring it over. They're still for that moment, and then they do a little drop, lifting the chin up to make it more of a feminine moment. We walk, just nice and slow. We have half of our dancers go 1, 2, 3, 4. At least they're on counts, like they're on a tempo. Boom, 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 boom. And then you have your members going slow and slow. And then all your dancers are in the back. I love this double diagonal that we're seeing. And then we have our members go across. That whoop, 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 whip, whiplash. But once again, notice we have our angle a little bit off. So these 3 are killing it. And then we have one of them just be subtly off. With a concept like this, I think it is absolutely okay to try to fight for the angles. And I am, once again, very curious about the behind the scenes. How tedious was this process for them? I already know this is a huge improvement of their earlier works. I've just heard about it. I hope to hopefully be able to do a marathon of them one day to be able to see and experience it for myself. But for me, I think it's okay to pick our battles too, where it's at the end of the day, if they are better than they were before, which the answer is always going to be yes. If you have people that are passionate about what they do, they're always going to strive to be better. And secondly, you have these choices like the minimum, everybody's postures and torsos are in check, but their extremities can be off a little bit. I'd say that's better. That's lesser of the 2 evils to focus on on a priority list. The torsos are way harder to clean than your extremities, in my humble opinion. So that's why I say if we're going to fight for clean torsos, then fight for them. So I like that. Dancers are facing the back. Members are going whip, whip, lash, and then they're going boom, 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 boom. So that right there, that technically could be more refined. I can see what they're going for, but the goal is for me to not see what you're going for, but to see it. Does that make sense? So it goes, you're making a box. So it is a fixed, pointed, isolated shoulder. So they're not really going click, click, and then making their body go like a true fixed point. They're going down, out, up, doom, doom. They're like doubling it up just like they did with the head. The head is easier to manage on that type of sound in comparison to the shoulder because we're not as familiar with isolating the shoulder as we are with the head. So that's why that doesn't feel as refined. But I love that. Whip, whip, lash, ding, 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 ding. And I love this accent speed change coming from our dancers. It ties into what the members did earlier. I love it. And I love having our hands across. That's just a note I'm giving to dancers. Some are saluting, some are here. Oh, they're making their own choice. So sorry. I take that back. Then you have your dance members. They hit it over. I like the inversion on that. It's super cute. I love that. Shh. eating over here on stage right with the dancers. Super dope. And then they go back, just like we saw in the key point choreo in course 1, and they reset look, and then they do it again. The dancers come right back up. I love that choice. Very nice. They step, they cross on tempo. It goes a long way. It keeps it uniform, and it keeps it not distracting, but enhances the environment behind the members. I like this part, that whip whip. Once again, that's easier to isolate than the shoulder. That's, once again, why this didn't feel as clean as these other choices that they're showcasing are. Just because you can nail it on one ISO doesn't mean you can nail it on all of them. So I like how they travel it up and then they finish that body roll. The walks are really nice, and I like these arms where they're pulsing it. It's the outside arm as they go off stage, and I like having your members keep wanting one of your arms, that whiplash, and they brush it up with a flick, and then they take the, what is it? They take the little, I don't know, headphone, and they do a little pop, whiplash, and then they do whiplash, and I like that nice lingering finish. I added that in. I've talked about it before. I've added that move specifically into a choreography in a group routine this season. It's just a fun, you know, lingering move that hits a particular part of your track, but it makes it feel like you're still engaged even post-song. So that's really fun. They did a great job. I love the vibe on it. I do think there's just a couple ISO refinements and angle refinements, and you got a clean AF routine, but I appreciate the victory of getting a one-take fixed cam for us to all appreciate. Now, we have the behind the scenes of this, and I'm excited for it. Do they touch on that? Is that like the bane of their existence and I was just beating a dead horse on it? I don't know. Let's go ahead and watch. Whiplash choreo practice. Zoning out for sure. The answer is yes, there's weight that goes on the standing leg. Oh, to travel it. So everyone's on the same page there. Oh, good. That's a good question. Doom, done a whiplash. This is a level thing. I love that part. It's a shoulder. Well, I thought this was isolated. The first time it was, but they keep switching it. So maybe I was looking at the wrong person. That happens. So it's here. Verse 2. Fancy. I know that's twice though. Whiplash. Nice. I love that part.
살짝 많이 아니고 약간 훅훅 이 운동이 있어요. 훅훅 이래서 살짝 쓰면 트위스트 yes,
This doesn't say still heavy smoker. Yeah. The shoulders eating. All God's children are supreme. That's a cute beanie. Dinka paid it on her words, which really helps her so it's not overly polyrhythmic because it's matching her rhythm. That would have been a nightmare if she couldn't follow her own rhythm. So what they just clocked right there was that Giselle was doubling hers, which is why it looks significantly faster. So sometimes when people do this, they end up going 1 Iana, 2 Iana, and then with the chorus supposed to be da 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 da. So it's simpler. So she was overcomplicating it, but notice if they didn't find that and fix that, it would have messed with the range and it would have made her stick out because there was way more rotation to placate to. If that makes sense. So I'm glad they caught that. Sometimes it's hard to catch that kind of stuff because it's so small. Cannon, 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 cannon. So they have it, the thumb right there on the neck, right there. Ka. Meow, 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 meow. Check. Whiplash. Yes, Miss Sleeves over there. Look at at that. So they found a focal point person to adjust their formation off of is what they just did there. Cool. Accent there, nice little pose. We walk and walk and walk.
5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 오, 좋아요.
Yeah, bless the busy people.
좋아요.
One night, give 'em a flash. Beat drop with a big flash. 따라와, 어서 move fast. 이유 넌 이해 못해. 보이지 않아 어디 돼. They want no I'm in bed.
And sometimes in the rehearsal space, not in the one take, are going to be your better takes.
Whiplash.
Do you see how much cleaner that is? Did you see how much cleaner that was? I do think one of them was still a smidgen too late, but that is very, very readable, and that reiterates something that I have brought up many times before when I look at behind the scenes. Some of the best takes are not going to be what we end up seeing on a fixed cam one shot. Some of the best takes are going to be whenever you see a run through like this, the best take of a move, because you had time to actually sit and nurture that and saturate yourself in developing and drilling it. So that's why, to me, like, that's why I was curious as to these little things. Are they circumstantial or are they just a pattern thing, you know? So, but it goes back to what I had also said of there's certain movements that our body is naturally more familiar to in comparison to ones it's newer, a newer sequence. Like a shoulder iso is newer than my head moving wherever I want it to move, right? So that's why that move may not turn out as consistent as what Whiplash would, right? So interesting. But that was really nice. I'm glad we got to see that take. That was good. Yeah. I'm assuming this was supposed to be here, and we just got one of our members didn't have it move. She just went boom boom because it was faster. Her shoes are awesome. Clean finish. Good, good Z. I can get with this. Yep. I'm digging it. I'm digging the choreo. Goodbye. Bye. Goodbye. Cute. She said, oh, excuse me. Yeah. Those little moments are very, very realistic because sometimes you can do a move whenever the choreographer is going over a different point that may not be related to you. Sometimes you're very susceptible in a long rehearsal to zone out or have a little cut up moment and then refocus. So that shows that they have a mutual respect with each other where when the choreographer is in the zone and kind of clean and stuff, they can deviate, but also they know when to focus. That's a really good skill to have as a dancer and as a performer because that's maintaining respect in the space, which we like. Because you don't want to cut up too much, but it's totally okay to not have to be serious the whole time, right? Symmetry mode again. Mirroring. Jack Winter and Ning Ning's alignments. Nice. Wait. No, I get that. Notice that she was focusing on their feet. I was focusing on their hands. Their hands are subtly off, but she was noticing that one of their feet were up. And that is very interesting because I think a very funny thing that happened recently was there was a choreo with P1 Harmony and they had a football. And it really just shook my brain as to why they had a dancer in one of the sections of the formation that just didn't make sense. And it took me about 45 minutes of analysis to get to that section, almost leave the section and move on. And then I realized the reason why the dancer was there is because they were the ones that brought the prop on stage. I did not think about the prop being integrated. I only thought about what happened when the prop was already there. So that happens a lot of times when you're cleaning choreo. You can be very hyper fixated on certain elements. Just like for me, when I do an analysis, I could go back and relook at it and tackle a ton of different things that I didn't notice in my initial run through as well as my initial analysis. And that's the beauty of we're always learning something new every time. And you too could also notice something that I didn't even pick up on, hence why I get to grow in this process as well. It's really fascinating kind of tackling all of those things, right? So all in all, I found that very interesting that the choreographer wasn't looking at the hands whatsoever. That wasn't her focal point. It was those legs. And so I'm wondering where she was looking, what her priority list is, because she's in the space. She understands the timetable. She understands what they can realistically clean in the time frame that they have, because even though I would hypothetically want certain angles to look a certain way on that dance practice, that doesn't inherently mean there is time for it to be refined to that standard in which that I personally had suggested, right? So I understand that enough in the grand scheme of things, which is really cool. It's really cool. Leg cramps, I get it. Oh, they go back, but they don't swing it. They haven't swung it yet. In that moment. Are we gonna see her add it in? 어떡하지? That was cute. I'm gonna say this right now, a lot of times whenever you try something without the mirror for the first time, you're gonna make a lot more mistakes that way because sometimes you don't realize how reliant you are on the mirror peripherally and just in familiarity until you don't have it. So I'm curious how many mistakes we're gonna have here. They may not show it. Yay! Fighting! Love it. That was really fun. I love looking at behind the scenes because it allows us the privilege of seeing an inside look on how they work cognitively, how they work with their choreographer. I know Renan was also with Armageddon. Like, for me, I don't know why I never thought that they were saying Armageddon at that part at all. Oh man, bless it. But all that to say, I really enjoyed just the little inside tease and scoop of this to really understand just the overall flow more. I've seen a couple of these already with aespa, but it's really nice to have it right as soon as I'm done analyzing the choreo because a lot of my questions got answered, but also we didn't see them actually build this in or workshop this in like they did in the dance practice. So I found that interesting. But hey, you know what? There's beauty in the unknown sometimes. This was really fun.
One look, give a whiplash. Beat drop with a big flash. 집중해 좀 더 think fast. 뛰어넘어 니의 못해. 왜 이제 너와 did that? Day one now we've been fat. Don't stop 흔들리지. 무리해도 can't touch that. Whip whiplash. 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 One look, give 'em whiplash. Fancy, beat drop with a big flash. 집중해 좀 더 think fast. 이유는 이해 못해. 왜 이제 너와 did